Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, and thank you so much for stepping up and running for town council. I know that this is not only impacts yourself, but no doubt your family, and it's a big thing. It's a big service, even just to run, and then once you get in, it's even a bigger task, obviously. Once you do get in, so thank you very much for doing that. It's
Absolutely.
awesome.
It's been all hands on deck, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the format is as per usual with
hmm
as all the other guests have been. It's we got the 7 questions. Where I hate reading the questions, but I'm going to read the questions to you,
hmm
and then once we're done the 7 questions, we'll go back and we'll dissect maybe a few things that you said throughout that conversation. So let's get started. Stephanie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what motivated you to run for Okotoks Town Council?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I just love Okotoks. I am very involved in the community. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Okotoks, where I'm on the executive board and I'm their youth services director. I also am on the board of directors for the hospice. I'm out and about the community all the time, seeing where I can help, what needs done, and how we can fix things, strengthen relationships, and build connections. And that's what I'm all about. And that's why I think council would be the perfect job for me.
For sure. Absolutely. What's your vision for Okotoks over the next 4 years, and what role do you see yourself playing in helping achieve that vision?
Yeah. So what I would like to see in Okotoks is the downtown to continue to be busy, but for the businesses to actually start to thrive a little bit more. And support those local businesses. I'd also like to see accessibility get a little bit better. I know that it's going okay with the new bus route and things, but I'd like that traffic to continue to flow a little bit better and just make it so people can move easier and get places easier.
Absolutely. In your view, what are the top 2 or 3 issues facing Okotoks right now, and how would you approach them if elected?
So I mentioned the businesses. Now, I am a regular patron of downtown. I love our downtown shops. I visit them regularly, shop for my clothes, for birthday presents, go to our local restaurants. Now, whenever I say I go downtown, people think I mean downtown Calgary. And I think that's a little bit of a problem. I
hmm
think too many people are spending their money there instead of in Okotoks. And I think
hmm
that's a risk to our local businesses. I would like to see business being attracted back here and for people to frequent our shops again. And so that would be the first big issue. And the second would be, like everybody's saying, traffic and accessibility. So being able to move freely and actually get to their jobs and, not have to leave an extra 15, 20 minutes early just because of an extra couple traffic lights and also just parking downtown again. It can be quite tricky for people to get about to get to these businesses because when we're shopping down there, you need to get in and out pretty quick. Sometimes, especially if you have kids or you have mobility issues or the weather. So I would like to see that improve and to make the businesses more accessible.
Yeah, for sure. Okotoks continues to face challenges around growth, housing, and infrastructure. How do you believe the town should balance the development with maintaining its character and livability?
Well, I think we really need to look at attracting industry and more business here. I think that we need to lighten the load on our resident taxpayers here and try to see if we can get, stuff like IT or agriculture to come here to help kind of spread the cost because I don't think we can have any more growth without infrastructure. And I don't want Okotoks to lose its small town charm. That's why we all live and moved here. It's a special town, and I don't want to see it grow too big.
hmm Yeah, absolutely. Many residents want more transparency and involvement in decision making. How would you ensure residents' voices are heard and represented at council?
Well, that's exactly where I hope I come in. Like I said, I'm always out in the community, whether it's events, grocery shopping, you know, out with the kids, at walk for the dog. I'm always talking to people. I'm always
hmm
listening. I
hmm
want to know what other people think. It doesn't matter what I'm going to think on council. It matters what the residents think. And I would like to be their voice. I know a lot of councillors can be quite busy with their jobs and running their businesses and balancing kind of reading the materials. For me, I like to see it is that all of the volunteer work I do will kind of complement the role in council because I'll be out talking to people. all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Town council works as a team and also with the Foothills County and the province. How would you approach collaboration and compromise to get results for Okotoks?
Yeah, I think it's important to collaborate with the county and the province. I think that there's an important part you missed out there too would be organizations and service clubs and also grassroots initiatives too. So I'm building relationships in all of those avenues. You know, I'm already talking to candidates for county, past counselors, also provincially too. I have some interests, so it's about building those connections and building new relationships, not being scared to reach out to people and say hi
Mm-hmm.
and what do you think about this and how can we make this better.
Right, for sure. If residents remember just one thing about you, Stephanie, after listening to this conversation, what should it be?
That I love Okotoks and I love its small town charm. That's why we moved here. To me, it's like a dream being here. The people are so welcoming. The downtown businesses, the first place I went was Elizabeth Street, and you know, I went to one business. I didn't have a car yet, and the manager drove the items home for me.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I care so deeply about this community and built so many connections, and I don't want us to lose that charm. And
Yeah.
I love being out in the community, and I just really want to be that voice in council, and I want to be that connection, and I want to be that kind of transparency. If you want to know about what's going on, I want to be able to connect you with that and help us understand and grow, but also solve problems together.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So, Stephanie, how long have you lived in Okotoks for?
Oh, you asked that. Well, I've actually only lived here for 2 years.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
in that 2 years, I have expanded my network extensively, and I think it's actually a benefit because I have lived in two other places, one in Scotland, so that's where we moved from. I was there for
Mm-hmm.
13 years. And I saw excessive growth actually kind of stunt the town and everything slowed down. And I,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see that happen to Okotoks. I'm very passionate to kind of protect that. And then I actually was born and raised on Vancouver Island, and I
Mm-hmm.
saw my hometown turn into something I couldn't move my family to. With the some of the decisions, whether provincial or municipal, shaped it to a way that it's not safe anymore in some of those
Mm-hmm.
towns. And so that's why I
Mm-hmm.
chose Okotoks, is because it's safe, it's community.
Um, yeah, no, you raise a very interesting point just about safety, in the events of the last now, while we're recording this on the 20th, in the last 48 hours, and there was a shooting in town. Obviously we don't like that. That's big news, and it's big negative news, and we want to keep this town feeling safe. What do you see town council's role in keeping this community safe?
That's a really good question. I think even Mayor Thorne brought this up before. It's like, what is your role on council, and how much do you stay just on the municipal agenda, and how much do you look out and kind of advocate for the town? I do think it's very important, and I think there is a problem with our safety and well, the police force. I heard a story of an RCMP officer who recently moved here, and they don't go in pairs apparently at times, and that's a safety concern. So even our police maybe aren't safe, and I would have no problem stepping up and advocating for ourselves. It's just finding out the routes to go for it. Now, do I know which way that goes yet? No, but I would be happy to ask the question.
Hmm. Yeah, like I know, and I've talked to another person that's running for council as well, just about initiatives and I need to reach out to Al Weeb, because Al Weeb is in charge of citizens on patrol, and even something like that, right? Like just keeping where we're keeping the small town feel, where we're
Yeah,
we're we're
yeah.
we're a little bit borderline, maybe too nosy with each other, so we know what's going on.
Well, yeah,
And I think
yeah.
it's so important, right? Like if we become like Calgary and we don't talk to our neighbors and we're not looking out for each other, that's when people, the bad people, can move in and start feeling that nobody's watching them, so we can do whatever we want, right?
You're right. That's what community is all about. I mean, I have a neighborhood chat here. We've got about 10 ladies in it, and we text each other. If our kid's not back from school within 5 minutes when they're supposed to be, we
Yeah.
text it. We say, have you seen them? And we're all out looking. So we definitely have that community here in Okotoks, and that's something we can't lose, and we need to nurture that for sure.
Well, yeah, you even wonder like some kind of town initiative for
Yeah,
group chats for
absolutely.
each little community. Not that I need to be hearing from communities, that are, on the other side of town, but if
Yeah,
it's just, hey guys, look at someone. It's 10:30 at night, and I saw this person walking past every single car, and they're
yeah,
looking in. So lock your
yeah,
cars. Things
yeah,
like that. Very, very,
yeah.
very, very big for sure. Um, so you also mentioned when you're answering your first question about fixing things, you want to get into council to fix things. Like what are you talking about there?
Fix things. Okay. Um, hmm, that's a good question. I think just it would be like little things like talking to the businesses, talking to the residents to see what they need. For instance, downtown businesses that I've been talking to say they need better parking, and we need to make sure that we don't lose that. Now I know there's down plans for downtown already, and
Hmm.
that concerns some of them. So I would be looking at how can we maybe modify those to make sure that we do have that, to make sure that it is a safe space for people to park and walk, and that it's not too far. Um, there's not a whole lot of Okotoks that needs fixing other than maybe the traffic.
Hmm.
Safety, like you mentioned, but we're still one of the safest communities in Alberta. So there's not a lot that needs fixed about Okotoks. I don't think,
Yeah.
but maybe just some things that need nurtured and maybe lifted up. So
Yeah.
how do you bring more community out? How do you get people downtown? How do you attract that? So I have been talking to the businesses. I have been asking the question. I've had some great ideas from some of them, and I think we just need to foster and nurture that, and to work collaboratively again with the town and the businesses and the residents and the grassroots and the service organizations, and just that's what Okotoks is all about.
Hmm. Um, it sounds like you have your ear to the ground a little bit with the small business owners.
Yeah,
Predominantly, it sounds like downtown, but there's
yeah,
obviously small business owners outside the downtown area as well.
absolutely. Yeah,
What are you hearing? Are they nervous? Are they starting to? Are they struggling a little bit? Because I
yeah.
kind of hinted at that a bit.
This is the part that breaks my heart a little bit, is that it's not just the town decisions that are hurting downtown. A lot of it's online shopping, and
Mm,
getting a quick fix. That's why it's
hmm.
important that we actually do as much as we can to keep that. I know the town is very good at getting people to town for events. That's something that's really special about Okotoks. But I think we need to encourage people to shop here, for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point because I do think that sometimes, and the downtown businesses, it's kind of especially this summer because we all kind of routed around
Hmm.
downtown to get to
Yep.
different places as opposed to driving through downtown and
Hmm.
seeing things and then out of sight, out of mind, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a little bit of a concern. What are you hearing? Like some of the small businesses are maybe concerned about some of the parking and some of the, you said plans that are coming in the future? Like, does it sound like maybe in some areas they might reduce parking? Is that what you're hinting at?
So it's not very clear. So the plans aren't very clear about that yet. So hopefully that means that there's room to not reduce the pricing, hopefully gain it. But it's a little bit vague. I would need to understand it a little bit better. But the businesses are concerned. The businesses are concerned that they won't have parking. So I think it's essential to have somebody there to advocate to make sure that we do have that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I really liked what you said about the industry and trying to drive in more industry to take the tax burden off of
Mhm.
people, right?
Yep.
And I do think that that's where Okotoks certainly is at a disadvantage. Can
Mhm.
you talk to me a little bit about that and what you maybe have in mind to lure new businesses to be a part of the economic strategy of the town?
Well, I think it's just to shout about our small town charm. People want to be here. So the likes of like IT businesses and things we might be able to attract because it's a nice place to live. It's not busy. It's a bit slower. So like Cochrane got Garmin, for instance. If you could get somebody big like that in here, it could maybe boost up those industry tax dollars to lighten the load. Um,
Hmm.
It's tricky though. It's tricky because we are so close to Calgary. I've heard from some smaller businesses that they don't want to be here. They want the Calgary address because so they'll be the first on Google that pops up. So I don't know what the way around that would be. That would be one for the economic development team probably, but to maybe help shape that strategic direction to see what we can attract.
Hmm. Like are things kind of, and I know that's hard for you to say, and you're running for council and you don't know, but like,
Mm-hmm.
are you looking at some kind of maybe tax reduction incentives for companies to move here, or is it just simply selling a lifestyle?
That's not my expertise, so
Tough
I
question.
wouldn't like, that would be one for the strong economist on council.
For sure.
And I think
Yeah.
that councils require balance. I want to like I understand, like I would understand the finances and the economics of things. I'm great with ideas and thinking outside the box. My strength is going to be the community and listening and being their voice. And then a
Hmm.
question like that, do you know what? I would have a discussion with the other council members and say, what do you think?
Yeah, I love it that you didn't try to answer it, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I probably
Yeah,
would have tried to answer it and just, that's
yeah.
awesome. So, no, that's great. So, keeping your ear to the ground again, like, what other things are people concerned about in this town?
You know what? Other than the traffic and losing our town charm and the growth,
Hmm.
that's it. That's what makes Okotoks so great. That's what I'm hearing so far. So I'm happy to keep asking the question and talking. But it's really about not fixing Okotoks. It's about strengthening it, and it's about keeping our small town charm.
Hmm. Yeah, and we've talked over and over with this with each candidate that
Hmm.
is running, because everybody is talking about the growth, and really, if we really get down to it, the traffic is not like a big deal, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's an inconvenience at times,
Hmm.
especially this summer. Everybody's talking about it because of all the construction, and you do look at the
Hmm.
construction that took place, and it all was positive construction.
Yeah.
I do think that some people were a little bit concerned about the communication that transpired you know, with letting people know when things are going to be closed and when
Hmm.
they're going to be reopening and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But that's also a growing pain, right? We're
It
we're
is. Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
transitional point as a town where we're
Yeah.
starting to having to grow up a little bit in
Yeah.
some of our thinking, right?
Yeah, and to be fair, I think the town responded to that. And when there
They
were issues, they
did.
did apologize and they were
Hmm.
great at communication. And I think it's important to either keep that going or strengthen or grow, like build on that strength and
No,
keep that up.
100%, and you are right. They did apologize,
Hmm.
and I still remember politicians, and it doesn't happen that often when politicians apologize, but I
Hmm.
I remember that, and I remember years ago, it's probably like 20 years ago, I remember a politician apologizing. I'm like, "What? That's unbelievable." But yeah, let's make mistakes. Let's say, yeah, we made a mistake here. Let's kind of move forward, right?
Yeah.
So, no, that's yeah, no, it is I think we all, and seeing the amount of people that have stepped up to run for council,
Hmm.
I really think, like, everybody that obviously is stepping up, they love this town.
Yes.
They love it. They love what it stands for. They remember the reasons why they moved, either from Calgary or from BC or from Ontario or Saskatchewan, or wherever they came from. What brought them here? And everybody's like, we talk time and time and again. People are nervous. We're
Yeah.
nervous. We're going to lose that, and we're not
Yeah.
going to be the
Hmm.
Okotoks that we moved to, right?
Yeah. And we
So
got to put our money where our mouth is and start, start shopping here. Start lifting it up. Yeah. Or else we're gonna lose it. So yeah.
yeah, and
Hmm.
that's I know the town certainly has had initiatives to have incentives for people to shop locally, and I know the
Hmm.
mayor. I can't remember the mayor's number, what she said, but it's like for each dollar that's spent here, it's spent like 6 or 7 times over again back in
Hmm.
the town. So
Hmm.
yeah, no, it is, all the businesses that we do have, you really wouldn't have to leave, and you're right. Like,
Hmm.
you wonder, it would be nice if we said, hey, let's go for 6 months where we try to find the product before we go to Prime in
Yeah.
town, right? But it's all that convenience, which
Hmm.
is which is crazy.
It's
But
about shouting about it too, because you can do your online shopping here in Monkey Mountain. You can, you can do an online order, and they do delivery. So does Finishing Touches downtown. I'm sure there's more that do it. Those are just ones that I maybe use regularly. And you know, you can do a little bit of a quicker shop. You don't have to go down. That's why I love having the parking right out front. If I'm needing something, I just park, jump out, grab the thing, jump back in. Sometimes I'll call ahead, like White Bull this week. I had to call them. Rhoda's, I called them and I said, "Do you have
hmm
this?" And they say yes. And that's a small town thing, is you can do that. You can just pop in for 5 minutes, be in and out in a minute. So we have that here. It's maybe better than using the online stores that you can do and get overnight. It's you can actually do quick shopping here too.
yeah, for sure. Now, did you mention that at some point, maybe even if you don't agree with the decision, but you feel that the people of Okotoks want something, that you would vote not the way you feel, but the way that Okotoks people feel? Did you mention that?
100%. That's the person I've always been.
Yeah.
It's not about me. That's why I go into it. That's why I do Rotary. It's service above self. That's their motto. It's what I've always lived on. It's probably why I'm always looking to help before myself. Sometimes to my detriment. That's probably one of my weaknesses. But it matters what the town wants. So I had a question recently, whether or not that we should put more money into the food bank and give them regular funding, because right now they just have to apply for United Way grants. And I said, well, why isn't the town supporting that? That's where our children and our seniors or people that are struggling, that's where they get their food. That's how you lift the community up.
hmm
But I started asking around, and most people did think it was already funded partially by either something else, but didn't know
hmm
what. And it's still a little bit crickets, and it's still something I'm investigating, because I don't know how hard to push for it, because it's not what people want to spend their tax dollars on. I can't advocate it. That's what I'm there for. I'm there to represent the people of Okotoks. I'm not there for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to push back on that just a little
Yeah,
bit. And I
yeah.
think if the government does start throwing money in government, that can be town Okotoks, it could be
Mhm. Yeah.
provincially, it could be
Mhm.
federally, that all of a
Mhm.
sudden becomes this government organization that then
Mhm.
people will stop giving to, because like, oh, if they need money, the government will just give them money and they'll go from there. I personally kind of, and
Yeah.
I don't know, I should talk to Benta. We should obviously bring Benta in onto this conversation as
No,
well, because I just wonder if if that giving would dry up.
you know what? I think the opposite of Okotoks. For instance, the hospice. We are partially funded by the government, but the town time and time again shows up. Our businesses show up, or for the Rotary, for the
Yeah.
soapbox. People show up in this town.
Yeah.
That's the special thing about Okotoks, is they really care, and that's
Yeah.
one thing that makes it a great place to live. So I don't know if I agree with that, but we'll have to ask the
Yeah.
people of Okotoks. And I'm still digging. I'm still doing my digging. I was talking to the guys driving by in their cars, picking up all the stuff today, and I heard it was a great haul. So I'm
Yeah.
still doing my research on this one.
Well, I even, just to piggyback off the conversation and maybe the disagreement you and I are having, the big
Yeah,
disagreement,
such a fight.
that's what we need.
Mhm.
We need that
Oh yes, yeah.
conversation. We need that
Ask the
discourse.
tough
We need
questions.
the,
Yeah,
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 let's talk
yeah.
about it. Let's flush it out, and let's not
Don't
go to
fight.
social
Yeah.
media and just like, oh, blah, 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 and people are like, let's just keep the conversation
Yeah,
rolling,
you have to have
right?
the tough conversations. You have to ask the hard questions. You have to listen though, and not fight about it. That's what I'm about. I don't want to disregard somebody else's opinion if it's not the same as mine. It's about conversation. I did have one of those on social media recently. I very respectfully put something out that I wasn't sure about, and everybody else disagreed, and I could see their point of view. And I think it's important to keep conversations like that going.
Absolutely. No, I agree, and but I also, then there's the frustration that I feel for politicians as I follow Tanya, as I follow the uh members on council and stuff, and just the feedback that they're receiving online, and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
the verbal lashing that they're getting, that
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to figure out, okay, which conversations can we have as grown-ups, as opposed to
Yeah.
somebody sitting on a keyboard and hacking away, right? And I think that's something that, to keep those conversations going, because I think you even mentioned earlier, like, to have diversity on the council is very, very important, right? To have everybody thinking one certain way or focusing on one, aspect is not good. It's not
No,
good.
it's all about balance, and that's what a good business is, and that's what a good community is. That's what good service clubs are. You have to
Yeah.
have balance, you have to have different opinions, and you have to debate and you have to talk it out.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
one misconception as well, by the way. For I'm doing my research, and people don't think that the council debated anything. Is one thing I'm hearing, um, and I think that's misinformation. I think that a lot of it was done beforehand, and that's what I'm hearing from the source, as opposed to what we see. So I think we do have to trust a little bit more that the people that are there, the people that are there representing, hopefully have our best interests, and are really trying to do what's best for Okotoks and the people. I don't think anybody goes in with ill intention.
No, and sorry, what were you saying? You had like there was some communication issues or
One thing I hear and I see online, and some of the keyboard warriors there is there's no debate. They vote unanimous. It's always the same.
mm,
And or if they even watch the council meetings, and from talking to councillors, they say that wasn't the case.
right.
They do debate. They do, and they have
Yeah.
heated debates. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward um, to having those discussions, having those tough talks.
Hmm. Yeah,
Hmm.
and I do think that it's so hard to see everything because we're not Calgary. We don't have
Hmm.
the news talk radio station that's talking nonstop about issues in Okotoks, which is
Hmm.
probably not a bad thing. We don't have the TV station. We don't, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
it's just how do we get the word out? And my parents who probably want to get it in a letter, in a newsletter, as to what happened with the
Yeah,
council, and
yeah.
then my kids want to get it
Hmm.
on TikTok, and I'm like,
Yeah,
what's TikTok? You know what I mean? It's all those, there's so many different avenues, and it's just
yeah,
communication obviously is
yeah.
key now. um there's a lot of people that are kind of seemingly running on a platform of taxes. Let's freeze taxes. Let's talk about taxes. What are your thoughts on that debate? Because I don't think this is probably the first that
Hmm.
we've gotten this far in the interview and we haven't talked taxes.
Well, people also want a new recreation center, and people want all these other things, and we have to figure out how we pay for those. And that's why I would like to look at exploring, or for a strategic direction, to look at exploring other avenues to get those tax dollars in. I am not a tax expert by any means. I definitely would not want to see things go up myself for our own family, or for our community. So it's about thinking outside the box, and seeing how we can pay for things that we want, and not spending too much more.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of all over the map when it comes to taxes. Yeah, do I want to pay more taxes? No. Do I want to, but would I be willing to pay more taxes if I felt that I was getting
Hmm.
the benefit, or we were saving money towards, or whatever?
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
everybody could be sold
Hmm.
on that a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But
That's one for
um
on the ground again. That's one to be talking, and seeing how people feel. And so far, they from people that I've spoken to so far, have the kind of same idea with you. It's like, I'd be happy to keep paying what I'm paying, or a little bit more if it got us something like the twinned road, or the rec center, or whatever else it is that people are wanting more of, but without
yeah.
more people.
Yeah, no, for
Yeah.
sure. No, well, you look at the community of St. Albert. I think they pay crazy amount of taxes, and I don't know how much industry they actually have there,
Hmm.
but the services that they do deliver is unbelievable, right? So
Yeah.
there's certainly a balance, and when you do look
Hmm.
at the taxes increasing, and but everything's increasing, and
Yeah.
it's certainly one of those debates. But I think at the end of the day, if people felt that they're getting good value for their taxes, like something small, I look at all the trees and stuff, and how nicely they're all trimmed and manicured.
Yeah.
I go home to Regina, and the trees are just running. Well, you even go into Calgary, and
Hmm.
Calgary's not maintained as nicely as Okotoks, right?
Yeah.
Where the
Hmm.
trees are trimmed and all that stuff. But no, Stephanie, I do appreciate you. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank
I
you.
look forward to more conversations in the future. I appreciate your volunteerism and your ear to the ground with the small businesses. And, it certainly seems like you'd be willing to go to bat for those small businesses in town and anybody that's,
And for residents as well. You know,
oh,
I'm always out and
absolutely.
about. So yeah, I'm happy to be that voice. And I think with Councillor Swansea leaving, that there's a little going to be a gap there. So I
Yeah.
think it's important to get somebody in to do the job. Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. I certainly enjoyed my
Yeah.
visit with her a few months
Hmm.
back. She's
Hmm.
fantastic.
She was the first
So,
place I would go to see what was going on in town. So I'm gonna
yeah.
miss her a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephanie, thank you.
Thank you, Carlin. I really enjoyed that.